Hey there, welcome back to my channel, Both Things Creative. My name's Zenna and I am glad you're here. I recently moved from Texas to Minnesota. I've been looking all over my new studio space for this box of textures that I had that I love to work with on the gel plate, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And I was organizing our basement yesterday and I found it, and I am very excited to open it up and play, and I'm going to bring you with me. So I'm going to pick out maybe 5 or 6 of my favorites from the box. I'll print them, demo them, show you what they look like wet on the plate and then in the final pool, in the final print. So let's get started. Okay, I have my big box here. Let's open it up, see what we see. An awesome scrap pile of art papers. Some of these transfer and some of them don't. Ooh, I know this one does. We'll try that one. The art papers that have kind of a metallic paint or foil on them usually will resist the paint on the plate and almost work like a laser image transfer, where the toner resists the paint and leaves the image on the plate. So we'll play with that one. Oh, this is another favorite. This is an art paper, but you can see I've used it many times before. Another cool one. This spiral binding for a notebook. I've played with that a lot on the plate. Maybe we'll demo that one today. Okay. This placemat. It is a cheap, like, dollar placemat from maybe Walmart. I'm not exactly sure where I got this. My mom might have given me this, but it makes the coolest image and pattern on the plate. So I don't know if you can see that, but we'll definitely demo that one. Bubble wrap, classic. Oh, another favorite. Tissue paper with metallic foil on it in some kind of pattern. I really love this circle. So let's try that one. We've got tissue paper, bubble wrap, my placemat, this binding, metal binding. What's that called? Spine for a notebook, and this other art paper. Actually, I'm gonna throw in this other art paper too. We'll see how this one turns out on the plate. Let me get my plate out. Okay, I'm gonna work on my 16 by 20 Jelly Arts plate, one of my favorites. I also have this other smaller 8 by 10 plate that I call my junk plate. It's a perfectly fine jelly plate. I just like to clean my brayer on it as I'm working, and the layers build up, and I kind of crack the paint just like that. And it turns into a pretty neat background that I pull after a few weeks and then use for collage or in other projects. So that's what I do here. I'm going to use black paint because it will be easier for you to see the textures on the plate with higher contrast. But obviously you can work with whatever colors of acrylic paint you would like to. Let's start with this tissue paper. It is regular tissue paper, but it has this foil pattern on it. And when I've worked with this in the past, it works similarly to a laser image transfer, where the foil resists the paint, leaving the paint on the plate, and then the paper picks the paint up around the pattern. So you essentially transfer this image onto the plate. This will end up being a little compendium of pattern and texture. And we'll take a look at each individually in the final pull. Like a nice velvety layer of paint, not too thick. And we don't want to wait for the paint to dry, or we will not get the transfer that we want. So we want to move fairly quickly. Yeah. Maybe could have picked up a little bit more around those. Maybe you applied a little bit more pressure, but you get the idea. I think this can be used more than once. Let's just see what this does. It's a cool ghost image here, but this paper is so thin and that paint was drying. Maybe if I had let it dry out, I could have used this again, but it is very thin. So that might be an experiment for another video. Okay, let's do bubble wrap next. Now this bubble wrap actually might make two different designs based on what side of it I use. I'll do half here. And this one's going to work more like a stamp. Okay. That was the bubble side. This is the flat side. Different. Cool. Okay. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. Maybe I'll just lift the plate up. So one material, two different textures. And again, this will be easier to kind of analyze when we pull it and it's dry with another color behind it. So stay with me. Let's do this little art paper. Now this art paper has holes in it. So I'm going to work with deli paper, basically to protect my hands. Deli paper is a very thin paper and is commonly used in delis to wrap sandwiches and food and fries. But it's also really handy for gel plate printing for a number of reasons. So if you really want to get into this, I would recommend ordering some. It's available online on Amazon or other places. I can share some links in the description below. So I'm pushing deli paper down on top of my art paper and essentially lifting the paint up through the holes to create my pattern. Yeah, I love that. When this was brand new and it didn't have layers of paint already dried on it, I think maybe we would have had a cleaner transfer, but and some of it has to do with how much pressure you apply, and if you kind of wiggle it a little bit, all of those things will affect the outcome. I'll put a little bit less pressure on this one. Let's see what that looks like. Cool, but I kind of like this one more. Okay, now let's play with this thing a little bit. So this, you can work with this on all kinds of ways. There are some sharp edges, so you want to maybe tape those off or keep those away from the plate so you don't scratch your plate. Although the gel plates are fairly forgiving and squishy. But let's just roll it there. I work in clothes that I can wipe my dirty hands on, so you figure out a system that works for you. And then let's see how that plays. Almost using it like a stamp again. Okay, we're getting a variety with one little object. Okay, lift that up so you can see it a little bit. Another thing you want to think about when you're using textures like this is how much of the paint you're removing. because over here, whatever color I use next to lift this off the plate is going to be very apparent. You'll see a lot of that color. Whereas here, I've lifted a lot less paint. So the prominent color is going to be that black. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's experiment with this little art paper design. And again, I'm going to use my deli paper. Yes, oh, so cool. I need to find more of that paper. That was a really good transfer. And then you know what? A bonus little thing with the deli paper, I like to just grab some, crumple it up, and it makes a neat texture all alone. Well, bonus texture there. You can come down here and stamp with it. Okay, let's end with our placemat. I'm gonna keep this layer of paint fairly thin because I want to pull a lot of the paint up so I can really see this pattern. I don't really need the deli paper so much with this one because it's thicker. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of hard to see that far away. Look at that. It's like the tiniest little cross weave. So delicate. I love it. All right, I'm gonna let this dry. This side's already dry. This paint here was a bit thicker, so it'll take maybe 10 minutes for that to dry. This is another reason why I like to have multiple plates so that I can keep working because I'm very impatient. But again, we'll let this dry and then I will pull the whole thing and we'll take a look. Okay, I'm gonna pull this using a light blue violet and this 110-pound mixed media paper. I usually use at least 140 pound. I'm gonna keep this layer of paint fairly thin. I'm gonna make sure the entire surface is covered and move pretty fast because I don't want the paint to begin drying. Once it starts drying, the chances of it fully adhering to my paper and having a clean pull go way down. Okay. Lay my paper down and then apply even pressure. Make sure you really get every inch of the plate in contact with the paper, even around the edges. I kind of even go over the edges just a little bit. The gel plate is really durable, so don't be afraid to really push down on it. Okay, I'm gonna give this 15-ish minutes to dry and we'll pull it and take a look. Okay, this should be dry. I'm gonna pull it and then we'll get up close to each texture and check them out. All right, love it so far. This could be a background all on its own. Okay. Awesome. So you'll notice this is flipped when we were looking on the plate. Our tissue paper was over in this corner and then the bubble wrap, and then we moved across. So we're gonna kind of move backwards now. But there you go. That's the tissue paper with the metallic circle design on it. Here's both sides of the bubble wrap. 1 and 2. I don't know which I like more, but they are unique. Pretty cool. Then there's the ghost image of the circle, the tissue paper here. We move down to that grid art paper here. And then we get into that metal notebook spine ring thing. And I kind of did all kinds of things with it. I rolled it up and pulled it through the paint down here. And then here is our other neat art paper transfer. This was the deli paper that I scrunched up and I just pushed down into the paint. And then I used the paint that I lifted here and stamped that here. And then here is that placemat, the plastic woven placemat, one of my favorites. So that was just 5 or 6 of the textures I found in that bin. There's so many possibilities and ways to play with found objects, art papers, shipping material, packing material, all kinds of really cool stuff that leaves unexpected texture and pattern on the gel plate. Thank you for exploring this with me. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm going to start launching new explorations every week. And I'm also starting some online classes in a gel plate club. So check out the description for links to those. Join my email list for updates. And thank you so much for being here.